This is the end of the beginning. Welcome to today's show. Wildfires continue to burn around the earth. We've seen obviously what's gone on in Canada. We've seen the other end of it, which has gone on in Maui. Obviously, none of these are actually wildfires. We all know it's a direct energy weapon hit that took place in Maui. We know that there was one in California a few years ago, and a lot of these are direct energy weapon hits, but there's also a lot of quote-unquote arson going on. We're even hearing the narrative now of arson becoming a mainstream narrative, which is very rare. But of course, this again is another way to take your attention away from the people who are really doing it. We have heard arsonists were arrested in Greece. 79 arson arrests were made over wildfires ravaging the country. Of course, this again is all part of the plan, because any arsonist, these elites don't need to hire arsonists. You know, they talk about George Soros. Oh, George Soros hiring arsonists to go do this stuff. They don't need to hire arsonists. They have the technology to do this where they can get away with it scot-free. And that's exactly what's really going on. So there's a lot of stories out there that, yes, they're talking about how this was deliberately set, but not telling you how they're doing it, who's doing it really, and what the purpose of these fires are. Now, the other narrative is in Canada, where they're actually talking about arsonists, but the arsonist is me and you. People who don't believe in climate change are the true arsonists. That's how insane the mindset is starting to get for some of these people who believe the mainstream narrative of the climate agenda, just like they believe in putting poison in themselves. So I will get into all of that in 1 second. I just want people out there to know that yesterday I tried to upload multiple videos here, including what happened in Morocco, as well as a video just going through some of the stuff that we all know about the 11th day of the month of September that happened many years ago, and what really occurred there, of course, the ritual that was done. And those videos were not allowed here on YouTube. They were blocked. So those videos are up over on my website. And again, I highly recommend you join the website for uncensored exclusive content, because we know with the act and the bill that they just passed over in the UK that they're going to start pushing more and more of these laws and restrictions for big tech to do more things. And obviously, over the years, I've fought against this, but at some point, they're just going to completely just remove people and things, and even arrest people for talking about this stuff on social media websites like YouTube. Eventually, it will hit places like my website, but not for the time being. So the website is completely protected for the time being. So I highly recommend people join the website. It's $2.99 a month. It's troll-free. It's ad-free. Keeps the website running smoothly. It also helps me to send you guys email blasts and updates, which cost a lot of money to do all the time to send these out. And of course, it's really about you guys in the forum sharing stuff. Even today, like there's a lot of stuff that people can share with one another. There's a lot of great articles. There's a lot of great other channels that people share from Rumble and BitChute, etc. Things that they've seen, just stuff that they want to talk about. And then even like things like this, which I love about the website too. Like people are at the grocery store, showing me stuff and showing everybody stuff that they're seeing right in front of their faces at their local store. Like this was a post on the website where you could see Witches magazine at the checkout stand of a grocery store. I mean, this is how unreal it's getting. Now, would I ever see that? No, I would never have seen that if somebody didn't share it. But it just goes to show you we could all share this type of stuff, and you could become more and more aware of that. These things are really going on. These aren't things that are being created in our own minds. We could see the evidence of this stuff when there's things like Witches magazine. I mean, it used to be like, hey, there's a magazine. Hey, you want to read Sports Illustrated? You like sports? Hey, a lady, you want to read a housing magazine on home decor? Oh, no, there's Witches magazine. Learn how to spellcast and you know what else? I won't say the words because I don't want to trigger the algorithm, but it's great stuff all over the website, from things like that to things like everything going on with the 1-9er, etc. And of course, you should become very aware of the stuff that is going on with that. So again, join the website if you haven't. It's uprisingrevival.com. That's uprisingrevival.com. The links are below for those of you who want to check it out. I highly recommend that you do. So back to this story about all of the arson situations that they're claiming going on. What people don't realize is that they don't need to hire, they give you this vision in your head, like there's an arsonist, right? So everybody thinks, what, like some guy is just running into the woods with a match, him and his friends, or just starting forest fires. The government strategically can do this stuff. Number one, they dump accelerant all over these forests, undetained. Nobody sees this ever happening. They probably, most of the time, do it in the night. Right? They go up there, they fight, and people are like, oh, how do they do that? Well, here are ways that they can dump accelerant. Of course, they'll tell you that the thing they're dumping is to prevent forest fires in case anybody catches. They go, hey, no, this is to prevent fires. We dump this thing on here to prevent it. Of course. Yeah. This is how they can dump accelerant all over the forests, all over the world.
At least 5 large wildfires are burning in California, and the worst part of the fire season is actually just beginning, with red flag warnings posted across the state. Tonight, Chris Martinez takes us aboard California's top weapon for battling its biggest fires.
Firefighters battling California's largest wildfires call this their big gun.
When you're up there trying to save lives and property, it's pretty intense.
R.K. Smithley is the pilot of a DC-10 passenger aircraft that's been transformed into a powerful weapon against flames.
Somebody that was very, very smart, way smarter than me, decided, let's put 3 tanks on a DC-10.
Together, those tanks carry more than 11,000 gallons of fire retardant, about 9 times more than any other plane in the fleet. All 3 tanks can be rapidly refilled.
12 to 15 minutes, these babies are full and we're going.
What makes this plane unique isn't just its payload, but also how it's flown, making fighter-style turns just 250 feet above the ground.
You don't expect that out of an aircraft like this.
No, we fly this in some amazingly tight spaces.
Spaces firefighters often can't reach from the ground. Without that air support,
we'd see a lot bigger fires. We'd see a lot more rapid growth. We'd see fires lasting longer, consuming more ground resources.
Smithley says he knows how critical his job is.
People on the ground are relying on us doing it right. That's what it's about, right there.
That thought is top of mind, he says, every time he makes a drop. Chris Martinez, CBS News, Sacramento.
So then they do that, right? And people will never know. How are people going to know? Right? People are going to smell it. They probably don't even have a scent. Some of the stuff that they douse everything with. Of course, we know that there's a lot of accelerant in the chemtrails anyway, which we see overhead. We know the soft metals, okay, that they're dumping on us day in and day out. So you could combine the two of those things where you have your accelerant for people out there who are like, have this vision that people are running into the woods with gasoline tanks and dumping them on the bottom of trees. And you know what I mean? They are getting the entire tree doused in this stuff. From chemtrails to what you just saw. And of course, they don't need the boogeyman to go up there. They want you to think it's just some scumbag guy why would the guy go and start these fires? What would the motive be? Just like with all the events that happen at schools, all these events where people go bang, bang with something in their hands. There's no motive ever for any of these events. They try to create one because they tell us that these people have manifestos and they hate people of certain skin color. All made up, of course. No motive ever needed. So apparently all these people, like in Greece, 79 people just decided that they wanted to do it because they didn't like Greece anymore. Or the people in Canada just decided to do it because they don't like the color of trees or whatever reasoning. They're willing to put their entire lives in jeopardy to go to jail for something like this. Of course, that's not what's going on because they want you to look in the wrong direction. When we know the government is obviously dousing all of these fires, they're clearing out this area. They're probably going to put smart cities, and if not smart cities, they're going to put FEMA entrapment camps, or they're going to call them wonderful FEMA cities, which I'll get into more detail about later in a separate video. But this is a way that they can easily do it, right? We know that they can use drones. And what can the drones do? They can spit fire, and they can start these fires very easily and undetectable, because who's going to see these things? And of course, they want you to think that this would never, ever happen, but clearly it can happen. So it could be as easy as that. They can do this stuff very easily. And again, they want you to always look in different directions. And then even when you have the mindset where you're like, somebody deliberately started these fires, they still won't have you looking at how they did it, who they are. Do you think that these elites would put their agendas in the hands of other humans who could rat them out? What do you think they're going to? I mean, if they really did, then 79 of these people will likely get whacked. Their stories will never get released, of course, because they never want anything that's out there in the media they want out there. So then you see a lot of these messages out there, like this one from the National Interagency Fire Center. There have been 14 reported drone intrusions over wildfires. So people are spotting drones all around these wildfires. They're spotting them. So what do you think? People are just sending their drone up. Some guy lives, he's like, I would like to. Now, I guess there's somewhat of a possibility. There's more of a motive for that versus these people just randomly going in the woods and starting fires. But they're trying to give a reason, an excuse as to why people are spotting drones all around these wildfires. So we're supposed to believe that just random people are sending their drones up so they can capture footage and upload it to YouTube so they can get views and say, hey, look what my drone caught, a fire. Look, oh, okay. Right, so they're saying so far this year, wildfire air operations have been shut down 8 times on incidents due to unauthorized drone use. Please steer clear of wildfires. So in the event that this is anybody who's naturally putting a drone up, because there is a small possibility of that, of course. Somebody might just want to see what's going on, how close the fire to their house, etc. Okay, well, they don't want you to fire your drone up into the air because they might see their drones out there firing at it. So this is one of their concerns, of course. While there's do you think this would be a concern? I mean, if you're actually working on the fire department or any of these agencies that are supposed to put the fire out, would your concern be, hey, somebody's drone, Joe Blow's drone is flying ahead here. Oh, we better put in we got to shoot it down. We don't want them to get footage of this. Well, why would you not want them to get footage of it? Who would actually care? It would just be no different than when they have helicopters flying above. Oh, because they only are allowing helicopters to fly above and film when they're letting them fly above where they know that there's no drones in sight, where they can see them setting ablaze the forest, right? So they don't even give you an excuse as to why. They just say, hey, wildfire air operations have been shut down 8 times because of incidents of unauthorized drone routes. So they're more concerned about unauthorized drones flying above, filming what's going on, compared to their authorized drones, which are torching the wooded areas. And again, this is all strategically done. They have a lot of these places picked deliberately, and I'm going to cover that stuff more on the website in regards to places like Morocco. Because a lot of these places, people go, well, why would they take out Morocco? Why would they take... Well, number one, they want to take out places that have resources there so that they can come in, take over the land, and then any resource there that might make people capable of, surviving on their own away from where they want them pushed into, which is their FEMA entrapment camps. Somewhere like Morocco has a lot of phosphate. Phosphate obviously used for fertilizer. Fertilizer is a thing we've seen over the last couple of years. I've covered many times with the trains, et cetera. There's shortages on fertilizer, just like there's shortages on baby formula, all these things, right? They want to take control of all these resources and make sure that nobody has these so that they're forced into dependency on the government. So a lot of these areas are picked strategically. Obviously, places like where the wildfires are starting, specifically out in Canada, we know they're probably going to be building massive entrapment camps up there to herd the citizens in the United States all up into there, right? And we're obviously going to see it around America as well. And we also know that the smart cities are going to be built, but people need to get their minds not just on smart cities. They need to get their minds on these FEMA entrapment camps. Because remember, in these camps, and I'm going to cover this in a separate video later, it's their rules, their laws. And there's one thing that they are hell-bent on getting inside of people. So those are things I'll cover separately. But these wildfires, there's the narrative of arson, right? Who's being blamed for the arson? Conservatives, anti-climate change people are being blamed now. That's how insane these people are getting. They're not looking at anything of how they could actually start, because in their minds, they believe that 1 degree Celsius has caused fires to start all over the earth. And it's the fault of people who haven't done enough about climate change. So what do we do about climate change? Well, we lock ourselves in our homes. We give up all of our independent rights as humans to the government, who is going to look over us and make sure that we're all following climate rules so we can all live in harmony, right? While they're flying around on private jets, eating meat, not just, cow meat, human meat, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So people's minds are obviously enslaved, and they are not obviously thinking. But those of us who are thinking, we need to make people aware of what's going on so they can see these things. If people realize the technology that they had, then they would, these people have, then they might be able to start saying, what do we actually have this technology to do? because they constantly tell you that they make all this technology and bring this technology in to protect us from Russia. And people are starting to be like, wait, what do we have all this for? Why aren't we, couldn't we just go do this? And if all this narrative with Ukraine was real and it wasn't what we all know it is, and couldn't they just do this really quick? Oh, right. Because all the technology around the world has been brought in to enslave the masses in each country, right? Starting with China and obviously coming all the way to America last, because America is the last country that's going to come to its knees, because most of the citizens here are indeed armed. And of course, there's a lot of other things that they have to do here in America, as opposed to other countries which have already passed all these laws that have enslaved their population. So America obviously is next. And the PSYOP here in this country is working, because we see the insane stuff that they're doing to kids and the insane laws that they're passing and things like, pretty much going on in California, going on all over this country. But they want you to think, of course, that these things are natural events that are occurring. And then when they bring up the narrative of arson, they don't tell you about how they dump accelerant from the sky all the time, all over the place, and all they need to do is send in drones. And then anybody else out there with drones, they're very worried that you're sending your drone up to take a look at the damage and what's going on, because they don't want your drone to catch their drone. And of course, all these arsonists, they're boogeymen. They're always going to be boogeymen, because you're never going to find out who's really behind it unless you actually critically think and use your brain and actually listen to the words that these people who constantly show up in front of the climate agenda, in front of the outbreak, right? The Bill Gateses of the world, they constantly pop up in front of and have their name and their companies and their foundations all mixed in with all the things going on, causing all the chaos. And then you find traces of all the stuff they've said over the years about the population, et cetera, et cetera. It's very easy to connect the dots. But for some out there, they don't know what connecting the dots is. Instead of connecting the dots, they're just scribbling around in a circle aimlessly, day after day after day. And that empowers these people to continue their sick agenda. I thank everyone for being here. Hope to see you over on the website, uprisingrevival.com. Thanks again, everybody. Hope you're well. God bless you and your families.